adventure with Joel the Scooter Maven. Never got the answer.
Ah, Europe. If you've ever walked around the streets of Milan or anywhere in Spain, you see 1,000 scooters that you fall in love with that you can't get in America. And we're going to talk about that today, why you see all these scooters that don't make it to the USA. So one of the questions the Scooter Maven gets the most is, why are there all these choices of scooters in Europe and Asia? Well, I get paid to talk about this to industry groups, and one of the things going on in the scooter industry that's been going on for many years is compliance. And that's one of the reasons why you get to see these really cool race replicas in Europe, such as the Yamaha or the Malagudi Bayless editions that never make it over. To bring in a new unit, such as the new TGB or the new 160 Blog or a new Yamaha or a Gilera, you have to comply with US DOT and EPA standards. And for a lot of companies, especially the leaders like Honda and Yamaha, that costs a lot of money. And because there's a lot of demand for scooters, the last few years have seen more gray market imports than ever. You'll see Piaggio and Gileras that are not legally imported into the United States by Piaggio Group or by their respective owners. So you see a lot of gray market coming in. Gray market is a vehicle or scooter that it's defined as a scooter that doesn't meet NHTSA, DOT, EPA standards. And people bring them in parts or in containers, and then they assemble them. And they usually come in from Taiwan or from Europe, which are beautiful bikes. And you see a lot of the custom stuff entering the US too. But that, Honda spent a lot of money to get the Ruckus to be compliant for the US. So the real reason you don't see all these units is because of EPA, CARB, and DOT compliance. So you're faced with an option. You either do things right or you do them wrong. A company that complies and does everything right, like Honda, Yamaha, Kymco, they're going to spend thousands of dollars complying. And this is the real reason that EPA, CARB, DOT brings up the cost of importing a single 50cc unit. It could be $30,000, $40,000 these days just to be able to sell in California. So it's quite expensive. I get to test even bikes that don't get imported by a lot of the major brands. When I travel, a lot of companies pay me to test out their bikes, and I visit them, and it's fantastic to see all these scooters. But the real reason that you don't see them in the US, and especially now, is that enforcement is bigger than ever, and we're trying to keep these gray market bikes out. Every year, thousands of bikes get impounded by US Customs, EPA, and now CARB, which are cracking down on some of the Chinese scooters that don't comply. So this is something the buying public doesn't understand or hasn't seen. But if you go to a customs warehouse, this year alone, thousands of bikes have been re-exported or destroyed because they didn't comply with NHTSA standards. What does this mean? Well, it's more than just putting DOT on the brake lever, which is required. They must comply with the standards. The mirrors there's certain test data that must be provided, and it's third-party data. It can't be just from the factory. So if you ever go to a court of law, they're just not going to accept a little letter that says that we made it according to the CFR. It has to be according to the CFR. It has to be manufactured according to the CFR and tested by a third party. And that's what the Scooter Maven does. Even customs officials don't know what they're looking at sometimes, so they call me, and I go over to the Port of Miami, and I can tell them, hey, this bike complies. I've tested it before. Let's go test and check the test data. And you can tell by looking at the test data provided by an OEM if it's factory test data or third-party independent lab data, which is what they want to see. So there's a lot of this going on. Even little kill switches might not comply. The reflectors on the bike might not comply. And this is the difference between when you buy a quality bike, like a company like Kymco that spent thousands of dollars to comply with US standards, or Honda, and a company that just started last week that's importing. So you might not be able to get all the bikes because it is cost prohibited, but you can still get the parts to customize your scooter for the bikes that are available in the US. And that's the other side of what I do with MRP. We bring in a lot of custom parts. We've been doing this probably longer than anybody else for the new modern Twist and Go scooters. So if you want some really cool accessories, grips, aftermarket racing parts like exhaust or Kevlar belts, we have them. Your local dealer can contact us and order them. And these are usually for aftermarket racing or for custom look purposes only. They won't modify, let's say a grip or a lighted grip or a chrome part isn't going to modify anything on the bike really. So we also have OEM parts for most of the brands on the market right now. From Diamo to Lifon to Linhai to Italjet, Malagudi, we got the parts. And you can buy these from your authorized MRP dealer. So I hope that answers your question why we don't see more of the European bikes. It's cost prohibited. It costs a lot of money. And sometimes you need to consult with somebody. If you need help consulting, make sure to give me a buzz. Visit us at www.mrp-p.com. And I hope that explains a little bit more why we don't see so many different brands entering the US. Maybe I'll post another video in the future about talking about some of the new bikes, so stay tuned to mrp-p.com for more information. Have a great day, guys.